Charity, Living for Life, here with my buddy Joe, who hasn't been on this channel in forever.
It's been a bit since...
it was, what, like, God, Anderson was 2 or 3 years ago, something like that.
Back, yeah.
So, Joe here is a Magic player.
Yes, unfortunately.
I was going to say pro, but I don't know if you are.
Not technically, no.
I mean, I was going to say you're better than me, but I don't know anything about Magic.
I'm a good Magic player, but I'm not, at any Pro Tours or Grand Prix or anything like that yet.
Yep. So I thought it would be fun since he's a big Magic player and I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh player, and honestly, I don't know too much about the cards themselves. I know the basics of playing, but
I know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh. So
I thought you said you used to know the basics back a while ago.
I played in elementary school, and then that's about. Like Blue Eyes White Dragon was the hottest shit. That's can I curse in your channel?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool, good. Sorry. But yeah, that was the best card. And that's about it. I haven't played since then. I'm vaguely aware that there's a billion more zones now than there used to be, and things are much more unnecessarily complicated than they have to be.
Oh yeah.
And that everything that was strong is now bad.
Pretty much.
That's about all I know.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun, and you guys may have seen some other YouTubers do this, where we got a Magic player who's going to take a look at some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then we're going to do a part 2 where he's going to pull up a bunch of weird Magic cards and have me take a look at them. If I can figure out editing, I'm going to put a JPEG, but just for the sake of my sanity, just in case. Also going to put the cards, and yes, I do have a stack that thick, but however, I don't know if we'll actually go through the whole thing.
We'll see.
Yeah, it depends on how fast he reads, and he's a speed reader. So,
pretty quick.
First card is Dark Armed Dragon.
Sounds like a cool thing. All right.
Okay. So he's a level 7.
It must be special summoned by having...
Read the effect aloud as you read it. Okay.
Must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 3 dark monsters in your graveyard. You can banish 1 dark monster from your graveyard, then target 1 card on the field, destroy that target. That's pretty good.
If this was a
turning graveyard into removal, I think we've got some cards that kind of do that, but nothing that's as flexible as destroy any target.
Yep.
That's very good in Magic. So yeah, that's pretty strong. I could see them printing something like this, but it would probably require a mana cost to activate the ability, and probably exiling a number of cards from a graveyard.
To pop 1 card.
Right. I mean, especially since this is. I mean, you can do that any number of times a turn.
Yeah, there's no limit. As you can do it as many times as you have darks in your grave.
So, yeah, we have cards that you can once a turn it can destroy any creature, or it can various other things, but nothing that can essentially machine gun an entire board down by itself.
Yeah.
At least like most things are built.
So while he needs exactly 3 in your graveyard to initially summon him, if you just mill a crap ton of darks after that, you really can machine gun down your opponent's board. Now, now here's a fun thing. Do you think this guy is limited, banned, or semi-limited? Banned meaning you can't play him at all, limited meaning you can only play 1, semi-limited meaning you can play 2. Which, by the way, for Magic players, the Yu-Gi-Oh has a thing where you can play 3 cards, not 4 of any particular name.
And for Yu-Gi-Oh players, Magic, our base limit is 4 of any card with the same English name, for consistency's sake, except for basic lands, which I'll talk about later. I really hope it's limited, but I'm going to say it's not restricted at all.
If my memory serves, he was put back to 3 a while ago. He used to be limited forever ago, for a long, long time. Because I think I told you, he used to be the most powerful and most expensive card in the game. Heck, he still holds the title as most expensive non-prize card. But however, he's literally irrelevant. He and any other monster like him from back in the day like that has become irrelevant. Now, granted, I might be getting it mixed up with the OCG ban list off the top of my head, because Japan and America has different ban lists for some silly reason. Well, actually for a good reason, because Japan's two sets ahead of us at all times. So,
I mean, that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah, they have more cards than we do. So, yeah.
I'll just set that one aside. That's interesting. A completely unrestricted machine gun.
Yep. Now, on that note, I've picked out a good variety. Some of these cards are banned, some of these are absolute trash, some of these are really good. Next up, we got TG Halberd Cannon.
Alright, that's a lot of stars.
You can count them out if you want.
I'd rather not. It's hard to see them.
Yeah, he's an ultimate rare.
Let's see. Synchro, which I don't know what all that means, but I'm assuming that I'll learn eventually. Cannot be special summoned except by synchro summon. Okay. Once per turn, while this card is face up on the field, you can negate the summon of a monster and destroy it. When this card is sent from the field to a graveyard, you can select one TG. I'm guessing that's like the class of card.
Yeah,
monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So it brings back something from its tribe, and then you can once per turn counter your opponent's monster summonings.
Yeah.
That's not unheard of. I mean, like, I did just build a deck a little while ago that is 65% counter spells, and a few of those are on creatures, but I don't think any of them are repeatable on the same creature. I don't think, I could be mistaken, but I do not believe we have a creature that can constantly counter spells over and over and over and over again. There is I think there's 2 cards from back in the Kamigawa set that have an ability where when they are targeted by a spell or ability for the first time, you counter that one. But it's not just any spell, it's only spells that target them, and it's only the first one. So, kind of similar. That is a good effect. That's pretty strong, especially considering the hoops you have to jump through to summon some of these dumb monsters.
Oh yeah, this guy, so he's a synchro monster. Synchros need a tuner plus a non-tuner to go into, where their levels equal the level to synchro you want to go into. Halberd Cannon is a level 12. He's also special in the sense that he needs a tuner synchro and 2 non-tuner synchros to go into. So you need to summon 3 synchro monsters that equal level 12 to summon him.
That's a lot of words.
And him in particular, he needs... he doesn't actually have I thought he needed a archetypal requirement where he needs a TG monster, but nope. No, just any 3 synchros that equal level 12, so long as one of them's a tuner.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so at minimum you're investing, 12 monsters go into them, because each synchro needs 2, and then each synchro's their own, so that's 3, 3, 3, that's 9 to make 1 monster.
That's a lot, but I mean, that's a pretty powerful effect.
So now, do you think he's banned, limited, semi-limited, or at 3?
I want to say he's he probably was limited or banned at one point, but I think he's probably at a 2 now. Probably loosened up a little bit on him, but I'm gonna say he's a 2 of.
Sorry, I was trying to withhold my laughter. He's at 3. He's never
full 3, really.
He's at full 3. He's so hard to summon, especially with the newest rule set.
Yeah, he's really like lots of hoops.
Now that being said, this archetype's actually getting new support that makes it where you can summon 2 of this guy in first turn very easy. I'm not
so I could imagine
that.
he's probably going to be pulled down at that point then, given that level of yeah. Okay. Yeah, at that point I'm sure they'll pull him down to at least 2.
Yeah, that would be it'll be interesting to see if that support does anything.
Well, I mean, just the ability to once a turn, no matter what hoop they jump through, no matter what they're doing, just say, yeah, that one's not happening. And the fact that it's not just the first one they play, it's whenever.
Yeah.
And so they can't even bait it out with a garbage, carry bow or anything like that. It's got to be whatever their best thing for that turn is, you just say no.
Yeah, and this thing can negate any normal, flip, special, anything. It doesn't matter what kind of summon it is, so long as it's not being summoned by a card
that's a lot of things that's a versatile card, and I guess if the support's better, that's going to be dangerous.
Now here's a fun one. Graceful Charity.
Okay, this sounds familiar. Draw... Yeah, no, okay. Draw 3 cards from your deck, then discard any 2 cards from your hand. Alright,
and what kind of card is it?
I mean, it's a magic card. It's a spell.
Yeah.
So...
This is one of the cards that Magic forced us to change to spell instead of Magic, because...
it's yeah. So, I mean, this... Knowing that, Pot of Greed is fucking stupid in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is probably, really strong for at least a while. This is nothing. This is a horrible card. By Magic standards, this is awful.
Oh, okay.
So just for example, one of our like standard like in almost every set is a card called Divination. It's two mana of any kind and 1 blue for draw 2 cards.
Seriously?
It's a common. It's in every set. It is outclassed by almost everything. Now, granted, it's sorcery speed, so it can only be done on your turn. But like, that's in almost every set. The most broken card draw was Ancestral Recall, which, spoilers for my video, Ancestral Recall is going to be in it probably, even though I'm talking about it now. It's 1 mana, instant, target player draws 3 cards.
Dang.
It's granted, it's only allowed in Vintage and it's restricted, so it's only a 1 of. But like, that's probably the most powerful individual card draw on that like smaller scale. But like, card draw happens a lot in Magic, and this is a bad card draw card. This is a worthless effect. There are some, like, if Divination was made instant speed, you'd probably have to discard 1 or 2, and it's only because it's in blue that you're able to like do that efficiently. Because there is Faithless Looting is what it's called. It's 1 red mana, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards with flashback of 3 mana. So you draw 2, discard 2, but you know, and that's a pretty good red draw card. But still, that's you can do that twice off of 1 card.
Now, do you think that card is limited, banned, semi-limited, or at 3?
Oh, given Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm gonna say at least limited, if not banned.
It's banned. It's been banned since. God, I'd say it was banned. I think the 3rd or 4th ban list, and it's been there
if
for.
Pot of Greed can like get tossed for letting you see 2 cards, and this lets you see 3. Yeah, no, that's gotta be.
Not to mention, this card is better than Pot of Greed in the sense that you get to draw 3 and then discard 2.
Any 2, yeah.
And in Yu-Gi-Oh, discarding stuff to the graveyard is amazing because
actually, let me give me 3 seconds, and I'll show you why this card is all right. 3 seconds. Here we go. Let's Google the card Brainstorm.
We're gonna jump to part 2 for a second.
Just for 5 seconds here. So, Brainstorm. Read this.
Draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your. Wait, so you get to draw 3 and put 2 on top of your deck?
And then a new order. So you dig 3 deep and then take 2 out of your hand and put them on top of your deck for 1 blue mana at instant speed.
That's fair.
Whenever you want to. That's not considered broken. That's pretty standard. It's pretty. I mean, it's not like it's not as standard as in Modern, but you know, it's not seen as too busted. Most decks will run that. So yeah, that's why not impressive. Not a great card.
Moving on.
Power level differences in games.
Yep. We got Dimensional Fissure.
Sounds fun.
It's a continuous spell.
A continuous spell. Any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. We have cards that do exactly this.
Really?
We have many cards that do exactly this. We have an enchantment that, if it's in your opening hand, begins on the field. Like you just cast it for free, and it's a continuous spell effect that says this.
Seriously?
Yes, and if it's in your opening hand, it's just on the field permanently for free. I mean, it can be destroyed, but
wow.
Yeah, there's a whole cycle of enchantments that are like that. So yeah, we have cards that do this.
Also, don't know if you noticed, but they pretty much only put the foiling on the hole itself.
Yeah, it's actually really neat. That's a good like foiling process.
Yeah, pretty much every version that's of this card that's foil has that.
Got foily too.
Oh yeah, the lightning too.
It's nice. It's cool art and it's neat. It's we have that.
Yeah. So is that for Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you think that card's banned, limited, semi-limited?
Oh man, I'm gonna say it's at least limited.
Yeah, you're right. It's limited.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
A lot of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh are super graveyard oriented, so locking down the graveyard can just destroy a deck.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And now we got a really fun one that I know is gonna make a lot of people mad because this card people love and people hate. Just put it that way. I'm just gonna say that.
It's a polarizing card.
Yeah, polarizing card.
Cool.
Especially if you're an anime fan.
You're all gonna dislike my take, I'm sure of it.
Astrograph Sorcerer.
All right, let's see. That's a fancy card. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Okay.
Okay, so he's a pendulum monster, which means pendulum monsters double as monsters and spells. You can put them in your back row as a spell, and they stay there until they get destroyed or something happens to them.
Okay.
And when they're in the pendulum zone, this top effect is applied, and then when they're a monster, the bottom effect is applied.
Okay.
So, okay.
Gotcha. All right. So, Pendulum Zone. During your main phase, you can destroy it, and if you do, take a Stargazer Magician from your hand or deck and place it in your Pendulum Zone or special summon it. You can only use this effect once per turn. I hope so. You've destroyed it. Creature effect. If a card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And you can choose one monster in the graveyard, extra deck, or that is banished, and that was destroyed this turn, and add one monster with the same name for your deck to your hand. You can then banish this card, or you can banish this card you control, plus 4 monsters in your hand in your graveyard, 1 each with Pendulum Dragon, XYZ Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and Fusion Dragon in their names. Special summon 1 Supreme King Z Arc from your extra deck. This is treated as a fusion summon. It's a lot of words, and I think I understand most of them.
Okay.
So...
Out of his 3 effects, which one do you think is the most important?
Probably if a card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can, pull a duplicate of what was just destroyed from your deck to your hand.
And summon him.
Yeah, and summon him. That's probably valuable. I imagine that depending on... I would have to have context of how good Supreme King Z-Arc would be to know if that ability is particularly great. I would also have to know how good Stargazer Magician would be to judge the first ability. So just the ability where you get to summon him for free whenever something's blown up, and then redraw a duplicate if it was blown up. That's pretty good. By rule of thumb, Magic doesn't usually do free monsters. There's not a lot of effects that do that anymore. I mean, there are definitely a few big ones, and you'll see those in part 2. But yeah, usually not with abilities like that. That's interesting.
Now then, taking into fact that this thing has 3 different effects, and that it's a pretty polarizing
Banned
card.
or limited. One of the 2.
Yeah, he's banned.
It has to be one of the 2. I mean, simply for the fact that you could realistically put this in any deck, and any time a creature is destroyed, you get a free creature and then a card draw. Like, that would go in any deck. It's an automatic 3-of in every deck. There's no reason not to play.
Yeah, so what ended up getting him banned was that there was a card that instantly puts him in the extract. And Pendulum monsters, when they're destroyed while on the field, they go into your extract, or they can be summoned back later on. This monster immediately puts him in the extract, and then you can pop a card to add him to your hand. Now, due to rulings, since he was in your hand and the last thing to happen was a card was destroyed, you can immediately summon him from your hand and search out a copy of the card that you just destroyed. And his search effect and special summon effect are not once per turn. So you can technically loop him a million times in your extract and just constantly summon him out.
So given that, then it's even more broken.
Yeah.
But just given the effect that you could put this in any deck, there's no reason to not run 3 of this in every single deck for just free monsters. Like, so
free monsters, free searching.
Yeah,
so.
it's deck thinning, it's creature tutor, and it's a free creature. Like, why would you not run that?
It's not to mention it has really darn good stats. 2,500 in level 7.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. I have no context for creature power in this world.
The attack, so like a 2,500 monster, I don't know, like that's about average for a strong monster in Yu-Gi-Oh. So he can get over most anything, except for a few certain situations.
Yeah, creature power in Magic is a little hard to explain quickly. So it's not just like, oh, this is a strong creature, because then there's the mana cost and other things to tie into. So yeah, I don't know what the context is for that. I just know you have, like, everything's multiplied by 100 or so, and that's probably a good...
Yeah, like, I guess in Magic it'd be a 25 attack power monster or whatever. I don't know if there's actually anything like that.
I mean, there is. You don't summon it for free.
Yeah, I know that, and I know that life points in Magic is what, 20. So
you start with 20. Yeah. Although I've had infinite before. So.
Oh god,
it's not an exaggeration, by the way. You literally hit infinity life points. It's not a joke.
Yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh you can hit high, but you can't get to infinite. Yeah. Funny enough, in the anime there were a few monsters with infinite attack power because the role of cool.
We have one creature with printed infinite power, but I've gotten more to have infinite power. So its power sign is literally the infinity sign. It's great. It's great. Right.
Moving on, we got Sky Striker Ace Ray.
Sounds like a fun... Nope, that's an anime girl. Thought it was going to be a plane. Thought it was a plane. Okay. You can
it's a waifu.
tribute this card as a quick effect. So that's like whenever... Okay. So special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. Don't know what that means. While this card is in your graveyard, face up Sky Striker Ace Link monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. Okay, so you can tribute this to summon a creature from this like group to the battlefield, and as long as it's face up in your graveyard, if that dies, you can summon this.
Yeah.
So you can just keep tributing this to summon those, and then monster reborning this thing.
Pretty much.
That's interesting. And if 25 is strong, if 1500 is probably not horrible, given the ability that it keeps coming back. Do we have anything like that? No. No, the answer is no. We don't have anything that does...
No monsters that summon themselves whenever another monster is destroyed?
We might have 1 or 2 that do that specifically, but not the ones that look at, like...
They're specific in group.
Yeah. We've got some that you can, like, sacrifice some creatures to return them to the battlefield, and, like, that's the effect they do, but none that just, like, triggered effect, bring it back, kind of a thing. I don't think we like that.
Yeah.
Given the fact that it seems like Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't like loops, I'm gonna say this is at least, like... I don't want to say banned, because it doesn't seem like the power level is strong enough to be ban-worthy, but it's at least a 1 of or a 2 of. I don't think this is going to be a 3 of, given that it's loops.
She is currently at 3. That's partly because she's a relatively new card, and actually her archetype Sky Strikers is currently arguably the best deck in the format. Yeah.
So given that it's new, I could see, we're in the early stages, it might hit 2 or 1. Yeah, that's an interesting effect.
Funnily enough, Sky Strikers, they have 1 main deck monster, that's her. Everything else in the archetype is spells. And the whole point
extra deck.
Yeah, then they have...
It's to loop.
Yeah. And then the spells are like augmentations for the monsters.
Yeah,
there's spells you can't activate while you have a monster in the main monster zone. You have to have a monster in the extra monster zone and all that fun stuff.
That sounds about right. that I can imagine what that would be. That's
now,
sounds awful.
And now then, here's a name you've heard before, thanks to one of the other cards. Supreme King Zark, or Zark.
Okay.
I thought it'd be fun to have both in here.
Alright. Okay, so his pendulum effect. Wow, okay, so Fusion, Synchro, and XYZ monsters. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to pronounce literally just the 3 letters XYZ in a row. I don't know how else to pronounce that and just to say all 3
People
of them.
say XYZ, XZ'd, XZ's.
Okay. Those monsters that I just listed can't, that your opponent controls, can't activate their effects. And then once per turn, when your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase or damage step, you can destroy that card. So just given that, this guy's probably at least limited, just with that ability alone. Because that's good.
Read his monster effect and his summoning conditions.
4 dragon-type monsters. Well, I'm familiar with his summoning condition, because earlier. Must be fusion summoned, cannot be special summoned. If it's special summoned, destroy all cards your opponent controls.
I love I did a pause.
Cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 1 Supreme King Dragon monster from your deck or extra deck. If this card is in the monster zone is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place it in your pendulum zone. So, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. It cannot be targeted by spells. And if it somehow dies, it goes back to the pendulum zone.
Yeah, now it can't be targeted by anything, period.
Spells or effects. Okay, spells or card effects.
Monster spells, traps,
and then when you summon it, you nuke their board.
Yes. And he's a 4K beater.
So, given the hoops you have to jump through, I don't know if I'm able to say that he's banned. Because, like, this is a deck archetype. This is the payoff for this archetype.
Yeah.
I can see there being only 1, because holy hell, he's hard to get rid of. So I'm going to say he's at a 1 of.
He's currently at 3, partly because the main monster to summon him is...
okay? Do you need... You can call somebody. It's okay. What is wrong with you?
The thing is that people consider him to be one of the worst boss monsters.
What is wrong with you? This is... Nuke the field. He can't be destroyed. He can't be targeted. If he dies, he doesn't actually die. He can come back. What are you... What? He's got built-in recursion, and he's built-in removal, and he's untargetable. What is wrong with you? Why? Why? Why?
We're just summoning conditions again.
Yes.
You just said 4 dragons. That's
one
not...
fusion, 1 synchro, 1 Xyz, and 1 pendulum.
You have to summon 4 different monsters from the extra deck of 4 different summoning types to summon him.
Yeah, he's...
That's not easy!
Yeah, no, it's not. That's why I said they're not gonna ban him. Because, I mean, you gotta have, like... But, like...
The decks that can summon him could only manage to fit in 1 in the extra deck anyways. So putting him at 1 would be pointless. There was very rarely a chance where he could actually summon 2. Also, if he does die, you can't bring him back because his effect says he cannot be special summoned except by fusion summon. So he dies, you can't summon him back unless you somehow put him back in the extra.
When he's in the pendulum zone, your opponent's creatures can't do anything.
Sure. And if your opponent tries to
And
add
if
it...
they draw more than 1 card, you blow it up.
By the way, this wasn't just used by the bad guy of the 5th series. He is the bad guy of the 5th series. It took 12 people to take him
He's
down.
the bad guy of this run. What are we talking about? Jesus.
It took 12 duelists to take him down in the anime.
Yeah, no wonder, because every time he enters the field, he wipes their entire boards. Jeez.
In the anime, he didn't have that restriction either.
That's not to say that there's not busted monsters and stuff, but most of the time you have to build that. Like, you take like 8 different cards and combine them to make 1 creature that can do that kind of thing.
He needs 4.
Well, they're not all creatures. They're like equipments or enchantments or stuff to, build up to this kind of effect.
So, yeah, using spells and stuff to...
There's actually an entire deck called Boggles, where the whole point is to take a 1-cost creature that can't be targeted by spells and just pile on as many enchantments to make it as big as humanly possible and just beat face with it. It's kind of similar, but we call that effect hexproof. Although if it can't be targeted by... Can it be targeted by effects that you control or just opponents?
Cannot be targeted by effects that your opponent controls.
So then it's just hexproof. And then it would probably have a line that it cannot be controlled by or targeted by abilities. But yeah, we have an ability that is named, for its ability to do that. But that's fucking dumb, y'all. Now, Magic doesn't have that's a quest. That is a quest creature. Like, you have to go on a journey to summon this thing. And Magic doesn't really have that. It's kind of just you have enough mana for it. We don't have a lot of special condition monsters. Yeah. And if we do, they're already on the field when you have to meet those conditions.
Yeah. With Zark, you have to work for it. And it's a big payoff when you actually do.
Yeah.
I remember I did it in tournament when Astrograph was legal, and my friend who was sitting next to me was like, dude, you just got Zarked. And
a card is good when its name becomes a verb. That's a good way to tell. Jesus. That's fucking dumb.
I just love your reaction.
Dumb.
Oh god. Moving on, we got what many people consider to be the advent of the death of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least the end days, the end times. Master Roll 4.
The dark times.
Decode Taka! The Link Monster.
Okay, give me a second. I'm just...
I remember showing this to you way back when Links were first announced, way back a year and
I
a
see
half
arrows,
ago.
and I vaguely recognize the arrows. So, alright, 2+ effect monsters, don't know what that means. Gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. When your opponent activates a card or effect, targets a card you control as a quick effect, you can tribute 1 monster this card points to, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. That's more reasonable.
Yeah, he's the first Link monster, so he's not too crazy.
So we have creatures that sacrifice this creature to counter a spell, or remove a counter and pay a cost to counter a spell or effect. We have things that do that. This doesn't seem that broken to me.
Yeah.
Given Yu-Gi-Oh, though, who fucking tell anymore apparently.
So yeah, he's the first Link monster. I'll tell you right out, he's not band limited or anything. He's at 3.
Yeah, no, I would have kind of guessed that.
Yeah, he's meant to be an introduction to Links. I didn't want to go too crazy with the Link monsters in here because I know that it's like the most far out from Yu-Gi-Oh! To Magic.
It's weird, that's for sure.
Yeah. So with Master Rule 4 and with the advent of Links, there's now 2 extra zones that is in between your zone, your play mat, and your opponent's mat. These are the extra monster zones. Before Master Rule 4, you can spit out however many monsters you want from your extra deck. As much as you want. And that's how many archetypes are designed. Spit out as many in archetype extra deck monsters as possible. Try and win. With Master Rule 4, you cannot do that anymore. You have 1 extra monster zone, your opponent has 1, that's it. And if you want to be able to summon more monsters, you have to have a Link monster. Link monsters, Link zone, arrows that they point to are zones that that a player can use to summon more monsters from the extra deck.
Okay.
So it becomes more advantageous to summon more Link monsters. And also, of course, some monsters like Deco Talker give zones to your opponent so that they can summon more monsters from the extra deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh.
I don't dislike the idea of, like, giving your opponent resources at an advantage to yourself. Like, I don't dislike that idea, especially when you have the ability to, counter their spells, on demand with him. Yeah, it's still just gonna be weird for me to wrap my head around limited creature spaces because Magic, you can literally have infinity creatures. But it's not an issue. It's not a thing that's worried about.
In Yu-Gi-Oh! The current max is 7, technically.
Yeah, like that just seems weird.
And with like Links in particular, I'd say the fan base is pretty split on it. Like 50% people like it, 50% people don't. I haven't seen any official numbers, but that seems to be my anecdotal evidence from just reading Reddit and stuff. And yeah, there's still a lot of animosity towards it. I'm not the biggest fan of what Master Rule 4 does because a lot of old archetypes are dead thanks to the idea that you first must make a Link to be able to do everything else.
Right.
And a lot of archetypes are locked into, you can only summon monsters from this archetype. Oh, does this monster have does this archetype have a Link monster? No? So then you're kind of screwed.
I gotcha. Yeah, I can see people getting angry about killing ducks.
Yes. Especially in a game that prides itself for not having set rotation.
Right,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of like a soft set rotation for a lot of archetypes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, that kind of has to happen because if you don't have set rotation, then you get power creep.
We will finish this off in the next part. Jump cuts for the win. Alrighty. Actually, probably needed to do that anyways. This camera recorder cuts it off at like half an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been, but
I mean, we've only gotten through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, so it better not been a half an hour.
Moving on, we got a interesting card. One that's it's a corrupted version of a fan favorite boss monster.
If you're calling it interesting, it's going to be hellish for me to read.
Rainbow Dark Dragon.
Oh boy.
There you go.
You're gonna keep seeing me fix my hair.
You're fixing your man bun.
It's not a man bun. It's not a bun. It's at least a ponytail. There's no bun there. Come on. Don't diss me like that. I'm not that kind of evil. Alright.
You look like a samurai.
I mean, I guess it's vaguely top knot-ish. Yeah, there's no knot, but sure. Always treated as ultimate crystal card. Okay. Don't know what that means, but cool. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 7 dark monsters, different names from your graveyard. You can banish all of the dark monsters from your field and graveyard. This card gains 500 attack for each card banished this way. It's a 0 defense, 4,000 attack. That's, I don't know if this is good or not. So, the fact is, it's 7 different dark monsters from your graveyard.
Yes.
Depending on how much support there is for getting dark monsters into your graveyard, this could be done very quickly or very slowly, and I'm not sure which one. If it were very quickly, that would be broken. The banishing other monsters from your field and graveyard to give it attack. Does that have to happen on summon?
No, you can do that anytime.
And it's repeatable?
Yeah. I think it says once per turn on it, does it?
No.
Oh, then it's repeatable per turn, yeah.
Okay. So, that's pretty good. The 0 defense, does it die if it gets hit?
So 0 defense basically means, how defense works is, let's say I have a monster who has 2,000 defense and my opponent has a monster with 2,000 attack. And my monster gets put into defense position. if they
will absorb the damage, but
Yeah.
like, how did does that destroy the monster?
no. So basically, a monster only gets destroyed if the opposing monster has more attack than their defense. And that's only if they're attacking over it in defense position. So
if this is in defense position ever, it's gonna get killed.
pretty easy because any monster can run over it.
Always. But if it's in attack position, it's not ever gonna die unless someone specifically does a destroy this attack.
Correct.
Okay, that's pretty good then.
Or if they can get a monster with more attack.
Well, is the banish all the dark monsters to get more attack? Because it's not a quick effect unless it says so, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, at least you can't respond to, combat with it, but you can always do it preemptively. Yeah, that seems really good. It doesn't. It's probably really easy to get 7 different dark monsters into your graveyard pretty quickly, I'd assume. And if you could do that within 2 or 3 turns, and this is busted as fuck, pardon my language, YouTube, I'm sorry, don't block this video. But yeah, I could see this being like 1 or 2, maybe banned if it was if the support was good enough. I could see it being banned.
So, unfortunately, the support's not good enough, and this thing's at 3, and is considered to be an inferior version of an already bad boss monster. Because the original version of him, Rainbow Dragon, just needs 7 monsters of its own archetype on the field, or in the graveyard to be summoned. Doesn't need to banish them or anything. And then has some other effects that are much better than just gaining attack.
Yeah. So my mistake was assuming that support would be good for a card like this, because if it was if the support was halfway decent, this would be probably restricted to some degree.
Depending.
And if the support was really good, it'd probably be banned or limited.
Yeah.
So
there's a joke in the Yu-Gi-Oh community that Konami can break any archetype because they've proven it. They've released 1 card for an archetype that people consider bad, and
I can think of 20 ways you could break this card, given proper support. But
yeah.
Clearly, there's not. So hey, there we go. All right.
Speaking of fun time, fun stuff. Golden Castle of Stromberg.
Sounds fun. That okay.
It's so bright. It's like field spell.
Field spell. Okay. Yeah. I'm not even. I'm just gonna cover the art because I can't see it. It's blocking. Yeah, I can't read the text because of it. Once per turn during your standby phase, you must banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down. This is not optional. The word "must" had me confused, apparently. Or this card is destroyed. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster from your deck that specifically lists the card Golden Castle Stromberg in its text. Okay. You cannot normal summon set the turn you activate this effect, even if this card leaves the field. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the attacking monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack the monster had on the field. So, the effect of special summon a monster that says Golden Castle Stromberg, it's once per turn.
Correct.
Whenever it attacks, blow it up.
That is not.
Is every time.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Magic has a card kind of like this, but it's much more harmful to you than blowing up a 1/6 of your deck each time, roughly. But that can never be brought back because it's banished and it's face down. And I imagine there's not many things that interact with banished and face down.
Correct.
So
they actually had to introduce banished face down specifically because
there are things that interact with banished face up.
So much that they had to, because the original idea with banishing was that a card banished was out of the game for
gone.
good. Yeah, and then they slowly integrated it more and more into the card game.
Magic has made some jokes about that before. Let's see. This one should be the card I'm thinking of that does something kind of like this. So. It is a land, so it's not actually a spell. It just is. It's kind of a field effect. It just you put it down and it is. When it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice another land, so you lose some of your build up, and it doesn't tap for mana, so it doesn't do anything. But you creatures that you control are not allowed to attack, but you prevent all damage that will be dealt to you. The cost of this is it has an ability called Cumulative Upkeep. Cumulative Upkeep is the first turn you pay the cost once. The next turn you pay the cost twice. The next turn you pay the cost 3 times. The next time 4 times. So it gets stronger and stronger. Cumulative Upkeep is pay 2 life. So the first turn this is out, you pay 2 life. The next 4. The next 6. The next 8. that
can kill you very quickly.
Yes, but if you have a deck based on life gain, you can offset that. But, you know, you get to prevent all of the damage that will be dealt to you. So it's kind of a similar effect where you're preventing damage being dealt to you at the cost of a resource that's very dear to you. And I'm sure there's ways to offset this, presumably.
There's a monster that literally says when this card is normal summon, shuffle all banished cards back in the deck.
Right, so like, it doesn't shock me that there's ways to deal with that.
So I will say that in the anime, this card was able to summon any monster from the deck. But however, when they printed it in real life, they wanted to keep it in archetype, so... And since all the monsters are based off fairy tales that have nothing in common with each other, they couldn't call them, oh, Princess Cinderella of fairy tale, or, well, they probably could have, but, so they just decided to put, oh, they all reference Golden Castle in their card decks, so...
So, depending on how good the Golden Castle cards are, this is either a 3 of, or limited or banned. I don't think it's a 2 of. I don't think they would ever do that. It's either a 1 of, banned, or a 3 of. It's got to be one of those 3. I'm gonna say this is probably a format that they put too much work into, so I'm gonna say it's a 1 of.
It's a 3 of.
Fuck.
Yeah, the archetype. They put a lot of...
That's fair, though. I did say it would probably be a 3 of.
Yeah. The archetype that it's in, they put a lot of effort into improving because the archetype is from the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime from like 20 years ago, and it only just now got printed in real life 2 or 3 months ago. So they power upped everything from back then.
So it's also really new.
Yeah,
too, so,
and they didn't print everything yet from the anime. There's still about half the deck missing from the anime. So who knows, maybe we'll get the rest of the deck, and the deck will actually be a good rogue deck, but right now it's only really a fun deck. Partly due to because of the Golden Castle's cost.
Banishing 10 cards every turn. Yeah, I mean, is there a maximum deck size in Yu-Gi-Oh?
60.
So there's a maximum.
Yeah, there used to not be a maximum, but then some jerk off in Germany took a 3,000 card deck to a regional and caused a lot of hassles, and Konami's like, no, let's just put a cap on everything.
Magic's deck cap is you have to be able to efficiently shuffle it by yourself in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
And you cannot use a machine to shuffle it. You have to be able to shuffle it by hand. So a guy developed a box system that essentially is like a rotating click box thing that let him by hand shuffle a like 2,000 card deck in a pretty reasonable amount of time.
Dang.
And it was legal to use because he wasn't running time up by just shuffling his deck between rounds.
How does he draw for that? Does he sit on a really tall high chair or something?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch any of the tournaments he was in, and I don't know if he actually was ever on camera with it. But yeah, there's no upper end. So if there was no upper end, I can see that being really good because you just run 3 of every single creature that names it in there, and a full 3 of the creature that, you know, whenever there's a battlefield, shuffle all banished cards back in, and you just keep free tutoring cards out constantly.
Unfortunately, the card that shuffles everything.
I'm assuming it's probably limited or banned.
It's semi-limited.
Semi-limited, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, you can still get some use out of it as long as you don't pull both 2 in the first turn.
The funny thing with the card that returns all the banished stuff back to deck is that when it is banished, it banishes the top 5 cards of both players' deck. So it was used in a deck-out deck.
Gotcha.
Because if you banished 1 and then it banished another off of its banishing effect, that banished 5 more cards, and then, oh, there's 5 more cards if it banished another.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It was stupid.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now here's a card name you might have heard before. The Winged Dragon of Ra.
I'm familiar with the Ring Dragon of Ra.
I'm actually going to take out some of these cards just to kind of speed up stuff.
Not unfamiliar with him. So, cannot be special summoned. You must treat 3 monsters to normal summon this card. You cannot set this card. The normal summon this card cannot be negated. When this card is normal summoned, spells, traps, and effects of other cards cannot be activated. When this card is normal summoned, you can pay life points so that you only have 100 left. This card gains attack and defense equals the amount of life points paid. You can pay 1,000 life points to target 1 monster on the field, destroy that target. We have cards that do part of this creature's effects. We don't have a single card that does all of them. The paying life to destroy monsters or monsters is not bad. You know, paying life to buff a creature. We have many cards that do things like that. Cards that can't be, you know, countered. That's totally good. The part that says when this card is normal summon, spells, traps, and effects of other cards cannot be activated. Is that permanent or just as you're summoning it?
Just as you're summoning it.
Okay, so it's yeah. I mean, we've got there's actually a keyword called split second, which is while this card. You mentioned like a chain is like being able to respond to cards with like quick effects and spells and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So split second is a magic card ability that's obviously it is. It's an ability that says while this is on the stack, no one else can activate anything or cast anything else until it resolves. So like this is the capstone. Nothing can respond to this. This happens, and then everything else can go. So it's kind of like that where you can't do anything to it. So yeah, it's strong. It's a good card.
Yeah. So he's an Egyptian god card.
Yeah.
And heck, he's Divine Beast. There's only 3 Divine Beasts in the entire game, which are the 3 Egyptian gods. Yeah. And in the anime, he was considered the strongest. In real life, he's the worst.
Slifer and Obelisk were the other ones.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Ra got so hit by the power decrease of the nerf hammer from the anime that heck, they actually took his other effects and made them 2 other monsters that supplement him. So,
of course,
yeah, to try and offset.
They were always on the field. Yugi just never showed them before. How convenient.
Speaking
Hammer
of,
just panned right over them.
Speaking of the Egyptian god cards, let's go ahead and do the other 2. Obelisk the Tormentor.
All right, yeah, I am aware of him. Requires 3 tributes, normal summon, cannot be normal set. This card's normal summon cannot be negated. Yep, okay, this part cannot be targeted by spells, traps, or card effects. During the end phase, if this card was special summoned, send it to the graveyard. You contribute 2 monsters to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. This card cannot declare an attack the turn this effect is activated. Okay. So, if you special summon it, it dies.
Yeah.
So you have to 3 tribute to normal summon it if you want it to stay. And you contribute 2 monsters at any time to blow up all monsters your opponent controls, but he can't attack. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's just like once a creature attacks, can it do anything after? Can you activate abilities of creatures after they've already attacked?
Yes, but however, let me read the text real quick on that again.
Because
during the turn this effect activated. So if it said for the rest of this turn, you could get away with it going into main phase 2. But since it says during the turn, since if you're going to main phase 2 after you attack, you can't.
You're not allowed to activate that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's maybe an extra line of text they could have written on there. Like, if this creature has attacked, it cannot activate this ability, and, maybe just like 5 words.
But yeah, you have to really pay attention to PSCT on that. Which I don't know if you have that phrasing in Magic, but it stands for problem solving card text, which Yu-Gi-Oh used to not have, and then due to player issues they started adding more and more into it.
The vast majority of creatures only have about 3 to 4 lines of card text, give or take, and the text is about a little larger than the creature description here, so there's not a lot of text on cards unless they are very special creatures. For one reason or another. So yeah, they normally try and be as clear as possible.
Yeah. It was funny too, because the other day I was at my locals and a guy was talking about how he'd like to get into Yu-Gi-Oh, but he's not a big fan of how much text there is.
A lot of text.
And now finally for the 3rd and final Egyptian god card, Slifer the Sky Dragon.
I know this one. I don't, but I do. You got 2 mouths. Normal effect of the Divine Beast. Once per turn during the end phase of this card's special summon, sent to the graveyard. Okay. This card gains 1,000 attack and defense for each card in your hand. Is that constant or just on summon?
Constant.
Okay. Monster is normal or special summon to your opponent's field and face-up attack position. That monster loses 2,000 attack. Its attack averages to 0 as a result. Destroy it. That is interesting. We have cards that have power and toughness equals the number of cards in your hand, or based on the cards that you have in hand. We have cards that gain static bonuses for cards in hand, and we have cards that have constant bonuses. Whenever a creature is summoned, reduce its attack is basically like health also. Yeah. So in Magic, if a creature's toughness is reduced to 0, it dies because of state-based effects. It just does. So it's kind of like a base rule of the game that always happens if there's any effects that give something -2/-2 or whatever. So the result of that effect is not impossible, and we also have things that will reduce, that are just like static reductions of power or toughness. All combined, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Fun fact, they took the 3 Egyptian god cards and tried to focus them on 3 different playstyles. Slifer is heavily focused on defense, Obelisk is offense, and then Ra is all about OTKing your opponent by either giving him a crap ton of attack power or choosing not to do the life point gain effect and instead spending most of your life points to obliterate your opponent's field so that your other monsters can go for game.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. It also didn't work.
Yeah,
too well.
I can see that. Spending life points is, granted, the only one that matters, the last one, but the last one matters a lot.
Yeah, especially when Ra puts you at the last one just for summoning it. So moving on to one of the beefiest monsters in the game, I would argue, and one of the scariest if your opponent does summon it against you. Phenomenaga, the deity of poisonous snakes.
Alright, given the fact that you said it, that if they summon it against you, that means they're able to summon it against you, which means it's not banned. I wrote it down. 75% chance to get it right. Alright. Oh, why is this text so small? God, you're gonna make me get glasses.
This is one of the cards before problem
Stop
solving
it.
card text.
Stop it, stop it. Oh, I haven't got past the first 3 words yet. Alright. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned with Rise of the Snake Deity and cannot be special summoned by other ways except by its own effect. Card gains 500 attack for each reptile type monster in your graveyard. This card cannot be targeted by and is unaffected by spell trap effects and other effect monsters' effects. This card is destroyed by battle and is sent to the graveyard. You can banish one of the reptile type monsters from your graveyard to special summon this card. This card inflicts battle damage to your opponent. Place 1 Hyper Venom counter on it. When 3 Hyper Venom counters are on this card, you win the duel. Okay. So there's a lot here. So its attack power doesn't actually matter that much except for making sure that it survives.
Yes.
The attack from each reptile, is that a continuous effect? Or
Continuous, yes.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, so if you have 5 reptiles in your graveyard, she will be at 2,500.
And then the banishing other reptiles from your graveyard to bring it back, that's good, so it's got recurrence built in. And if it hits them 3 times, they're dead.
Yes. And it itself is completely immune to all other card effects.
Are there ways to increase the number of counters on something through spell effects?
Yes, but however, typically those counters put generic counters on it.
You can't just like add an additional counter of whatever type it already or double the number of counters on target card or something?
Typically speaking, a generic counter is called a spell counter. And most generic they give this card counters gives it spell counters, not hypervenom counters.
Gotcha.
That's why they specifically say hypervenom.
So the being untouchable and resummonable is a problem. So the so self-recurrence built right in.
Yep.
Constantly changing attack power, so lots of stuff to track. So there's that. Which in Magic would be a strike against it. In Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just kind of a fact of life, I guess. The hypervenom counters are interesting. Magic has something like this.
Yeah?
Magic had an entire set focused around something called infect counters. Infect creatures, when they deal damage to a creature, deal damage in -1/-1 counters. So they make the creature get smaller. When they hit a person, they get a poison counter instead of taking any damage. When a person has 10 poison counters, they lose the game. Now, Magic also has a number of card effects that will increase the number of counters on something. Double the number of counters on target creature. There was an entire mechanic in the same set called Proliferate, which was choose any number of creatures or players and increase the number of counters on them by 1.
Oh.
So you could hit somebody with 1 infect counter, get them to 1 infect, and then through spell effects and artifacts and stuff, increase that poison up without ever touching.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. This is very powerful. Has to be special summon with Rise of the Snake Deity.
Rise of the Snake Deity is a normal trap card. It states whenever Phenomenon, the king of poisonous snakes, is destroyed by a card effect, summon her from your hand or deck.
Okay. So you have to get the king of snakes. Is he like a special tribute summon or something?
He's a level 8 and you can cheese him out easy.
Temperature of the snake goes.
Okay. So he's not too hard to get out.
The biggest issue
She gets to be summoned from hand or deck.
Yes.
And then can't ever be dealt with afterwards.
Technically. However, we recently got an archetype of monsters called the Kaiju, who can be summoned by tributing an opponent's monster, and they summon themselves to your opponent's field. And that ignores card effects like that, because it's for a condition, not an effect.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah.
I'm gonna say she's a one-of.
She's at 3.
Why do I even try? Why do I even try? She's easy to get out. She self-recurs. She kills your opponent in 3 hits,
Mm-hmm.
and her attack is like can be huge. Why?
The issue is that the trap that summons her is non-searchable, mostly. There's some ways to choose that, but they're inconsistent. She's a reptile. Reptiles are the least supported, well, one of the least supported typings in the game. And the archetype she's for Venoms is one of the worst in the game.
I don't get it. I don't understand your power level. Every time, like
The power level's over 9,000!
Card draw is impossible. We cannot allow any card draw in this game. If you see more than 1 card a turn, you're banned. But also, you can do this.
Funny that you bring up card draw, because we're going to talk about Allure of Darkness next.
Okay, let's see how much card draw. Spell card. Draw 2 cards, banish 1 dark monster from your hand, or if you do not have any in your hand, send your entire hand to the graveyard. Okay. So that's not... That seems like a reasonable power level for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you just cast the spell on an empty hand, you draw 2 cards and put them in the graveyard. Which, according to some of these fucking cards, is broken apparently to put cards in the graveyard. I'm gonna say that that's the part that makes this card any kind of restricted, is the put the rest of your hand in the graveyard. I'm gonna guess that's the part that breaks this.
No.
Because I could see like a graveyard-focused deck that doesn't have any dark creatures, that just casts this to draw 2 cards and then put 8 cards in the graveyard. I could see that being the thing that breaks this.
That's an interesting theory, but about 90% of graveyard-oriented archetypes are dark.
I am sure you could find a 10% that uses this if it's not already limited to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that if anything's going to break this, it's got to be that, because, I mean, draw 2 cards, then banish a dark monster from your hands. Okay, so you're banishing it, so there's not a ton of ways to get things that are banished. There's some, but, you know, once it's banished, it's mostly gone. You know, I would say that this is at worst a 2 of.
It's at 3. It was at 2 for a very long time, and it was at 1 for a very long time. The big thing is that a lot of dark monsters don't mind being banished. A lot of dark archetypes like being banished, actually.
Of course they
so
do.
Drawing 2 and banishing it gets big pluses. Very few people have actually used it for the discarding effect, because there's just better effective ways to do it. So, not to mention, if you do happen to draw a dark, you don't get the discard.
Banish it, yeah.
Yes. It's
Please
not
don't put
a...
any darks in your deck. I've made a new archetype. Congratulations, everybody. You're welcome. You can have that one for free. I'm charging for the next one, though.
Moving on, so here's a fun one. This card also came before PSCT and has not been printed since PSCT came out.
No.
So I wanted to see how much this would drive you nuts.
Oh, no.
Last Will.
Oh, I can only... Wait, I know this card.
Oh, you do?
I had this card.
Mhm.
I know this one. If a monster of yours is sent from the field to the graveyard, during the turn you've played this card, you can select a monster with attack of 1,500 points or less from your deck and play it as a special summon. Shuffle the deck after playing this card. This card is active for 1 turn only. So it's just you cast it, and then in the same turn, if a creature you control goes from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon any 1,500 or less creature from your deck. Yeah,
Correct.
I know this card. This is like limited.
It's banned.
It's banned? Banned or limited? One of the two. Because,
A free summon? What?
A free summon of 1,500 or less. There's a lot of creatures that have no attack. I'm assuming that counts as 1,500 or less if their attack is set at question mark.
Oh no, question mark is considered a divined.
It's question. Okay, well.
But if it's 0, yeah.
And
it's
then
fair
a
game.
creature that has an ability that increases attack based on some certain thing.
That, or better yet, it has a really good effect.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know this one.
Last Will was on one of the earlier ban lists. It wasn't on the first, but it was on one of the early ones.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been reprinted since, if my memory's correct.
I like how it's the last will and it's just a note for Will. Like that's not a will. That's just for Will. This is just a letter left for some guy named Will, and he's the last will standing. New on NBC this fall.
So here's
Last will standing.
I can actually see NBC making a movie or something about it.
Yeah.
Oh god, so I actually took out about half the stack to try and make
there's
things.
a lot.
Yeah, so we got 5 cards left.
Okay.
Elemental Hero Nebula Neos.
That's a lot. Oh, that's a lot of text. That's small letters.
And this card came out last month.
Okay, I'm gonna cover this up so I can read it because that foil treatment hurts my eyes. Okay, there's... Alright, I'm not gonna list what it fuses from because y'all can know that. Must first be special summoned by shuffling the above cards you control into the deck. You do not use polymerization. Oh, dang. This card is special summoned in the extra deck. Draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. Then negate the effects of 1 face-up card in this field until the end of this turn. Once per turn during the end phase, shuffle this card to the extra deck. And if you do, banish all cards in the field face down. Okay. Alright. Draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. That is only on the battlefield. Does that count their hand?
Only on battlefield.
Okay. So they're really good or really bad. Cool.
Then you get to negate a card effect.
For one turn.
Yep.
And then you can decide to just nuke the entire field.
That's actually not... That's mandatory.
Oh, you have to... So he only exists once.
Technically, unless you can get his own effect with his own effect. Then he gets shuffled back during your opponent's turn.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Can monsters attack the turn they're summoned?
Of course. Well, oh wait, sorry, I can't say of course. In Yu-Gi-Oh, yes. There's
Okay.
very few monsters that cannot attack the turn they're summoned.
Okay. So base rule is yes unless the exception says otherwise.
Yes.
Okay.
There's actually
So-
a continuous spell card that gives monsters summoning sickness.
So his entire point is draw a bunch of cards, then nuke the field.
Basically.
That's he's a spell effect
Basically.
that can swing for 3,000. Okay. Fuck it, I'm gonna say he's at 3 because why the hell not?
He is. He's in a...
I'm just gonna not try with monsters anymore. I can gauge spell effects. I just can't cast with monsters.
Yep. He is, he's the newest boss monster in what is considered to be one of the worst archetypes in the game. But however, that deck, Konami's trying to make better, and they're giving them better boss monsters and better spells and traps. So he went from being next to impossible summon to being able to be summoned very easily. So,
Of course.
yep. Next up, we got Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy of the End.
I've heard that name. Why have I heard that? You've talked about this before, haven't you?
I think I have, I don't know.
You've complained about this, I think, before.
About something.
This card cannot be normal summoned or set.
He was also before PSCT.
Oh, this card's synced up. Okay.
Yeah, it was given to me by a friend.
That's fine. I'm not making fun of your collection, it's just hard to read.
Sorry.
So, this start card can only be special summoned by removing one light and one dark monster in your graveyard from play, so banish them.
Yeah, again, before
Pay 1,000 of your
PSCT.
life points, send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard, inflict 300 points of your damage to Yoru.
Misprint.
Life points for each card that is sent to the graveyard with this effect. That's pretty good. I want to say it's a 1-of, but it's probably a fucking 3-of, isn't it?
It's banned.
Banned? Okay, thank God.
This card-
Some sense. Thank you. Some sense.
This card actually is the reason for the first ban list.
Thank you. Thank God.
Finally. There was a combo with him where you would summon him while you already have a monster called Sangan on the field. Sangan, whenever he is sent from the field to the graveyard, searches out any monster with 1,500 or less attack power.
Yeah.
Then, so you use this effect, send everybody's field and hand to the graveyard, your opponent takes a bit of damage, and then with Sangan's effect, you add a monster called Yata-Garasu from your deck to your hand. Yata-Garasu is a level 1 that has 200 attack and says, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent skips their next draw phase. And then during the end phase...
This is why you've complained about this before.
The Yata lock. So...
Okay.
Your opponent has no cards in hand, they have no cards on field, they have no... Back then, graveyard effects were near non-existent. So, you poke for 200, your deck bounces back to hand during your turn, your opponent skips their draw phase, they have no cards in hand, no way to play. Repeat. Repeat.
Gotcha.
Repeat. Until you're... Hey, this is so...
It's a slow TK.
Yeah, it's so infamous that in most modern Yu-Gi-Oh video games, if you actually get the Yata lock on your opponent's... on the enemy AI, they will automatically quit. I'm not joking about that. It will say, one due to the effect of Yata-Garasu.
That's great.
So yeah, this card alongside Yata-Garasu is the reason for the ban list.
So we have effects that will deal damage to opponents based on the number of cards in their graveyard. I think we have some that'll... We have one that destroys all creatures in the field, then you draw cards equal to the number of creatures that were destroyed. We have a few that deal damage based on the creatures that were destroyed, but we don't have that. Exactly. Yeah, that's... Thank God. Thank you for finally making sense of your ban list. I appreciate it. That's fine and logical, because I really wanted to say this is probably banned, but knowing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably only limited, but knowing Yu-Gi-Oh! Means it's probably only a 3-of.
He's actually at 3 in Japan. The big thing is that he got an errata. They're going around making erratas to old ban cards to try and make them balanced.
Probably a good idea.
So what they did for Chaos Emperor was they made it to where you cannot activate any cards or effects during the turn that use his effect other than his own.
Gotcha.
So-
That's not a bad way to balance it. That probably makes it work as intended.
Yeah, they also make it to where your opponent only takes damage equal to cards they controlled. So that was unnecessary, but the whole nuking the board in hand is
That was big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's literally not played anymore, other than just being a beater and the occasional I win by burn damage effect.
Yeah. Okay. That was. Thank you for making sense. Finally. Thank you.
Next up, we got Mischief of the Time Goddess. A card
There's
that
gonna be a lot of text, isn't there?
there's a good portion. So this card is a card that people have been clamoring for from the original anime for years. Well, because the original anime was 20 years ago, something
Roughly.
like that. Yep. Mischief of the Time Goddess.
It's not that many words. And Sailor Moon on it. Cool.
Actually, Hatsune Miku.
I know. It's making a joke.
I know.
For comedy,
Yes.
because we're on the internet.
Correct. The interwebs.
Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Cannot be activated as chain link 2 or higher. Okay, interesting. At the end of your battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, minimum 1, send this card to the graveyard. Also, immediately after this effect resolves, skip to the start of the battle phase of your next turn. If you do, you cannot activate Mischief. Okay. So, this has to be the first card you cast. You can't respond to anything with this, and this cannot be responded to with anything.
Kind of. That doesn't have to be the first thing that you activate. So you go into your battle phase, you attack with all your monsters, then after you attack, you activate that during your battle phase, since it's a quick play spell, and then it skips to your next battle phase.
Right. So what I'm saying is like you cannot like quick effect and then quick effect then this.
Yeah.
Like this has to be the first spell of the chain.
Yeah.
So you can't respond to anything with this, and nothing can respond to this.
Correct.
But it's still a quick effect. Okay. So it gives you an extra combat step, essentially.
And it skips the full turn. It skips your opponent's turn, goes straight into your new turn.
Which, I mean, is essentially just you have 2 combat phases.
Yeah,
because it doesn't let you do anything in between. Like, it's not like you draw a card because you're skipping your draw phase.
Yeah. But however, traps, which you have to set and wait a turn to activate, since it skipped a turn, you can use trap cards now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, we have cards that do this.
Yeah, I know.
This is interesting.
Yeah, I know Magic has a lot of skip turn effects, so I wanted to include.
There is a creature that was just printed in the most recent Commander set that actually reads untap all creatures you control, or as it's a paid effect, activate effect, 1 mana of each color. Untap all creatures you control. After this combat step, you gain an additional combat step, and so you can keep paying that much mana and gaining additional combat steps over and over and over and over again. So just the concept of that we have.
Yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's only, I believe, counting Mischief of the Time Goddess, 2 cards that skip people to your opponent's battle phase. Well, 2 relevant cards that I can think of: Mischief of the Time Goddess and a card called Arcana Force. Number 12, the world. If I remember right, he's number 12. And as you can imagine, the freaking Dio Brando references.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He.
I thought it was Yu-Gi-Oh. It was me.
So that card.
We dropped a card.
I don't have Arcana Force the World. Otherwise, I would have used him instead. But basically, he has 2 effects, but the key one is that during your end phase, you contribute 2 monsters to skip your opponent's turn and go straight into your next turn. And
that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, and if you have ways of generating more and more monsters, you can keep skipping your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
However,
let's just play Uno for a bit.
He's a level 12, and you have a 50-50 chance of getting that effect, because his effect is whenever you summon, you flip a coin. If it's heads, you get one effect. If it's tails, you get the other. And the heads effect is, if I remember right, your opponent during their draw phase gets their draw, but they also get to add the top card of their graveyard to their hand.
That's fair and balanced.
Yeah.
Either you get tons of card advantage or I win the game.
Yep.
What happens? Let's find out.
Oh, God. Yep. Oh, yeah, you didn't say if that card was at 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, this, that's gotta be banned, right?
It's at 3.
It's a 3?
Valkyrie archetype is relatively new, and it's not too great.
Is it new?
Yeah. So Valkyries came from the original series, but they only just got printed, like with the Golden Castle deck.
Yeah, that's gonna get lower.
Yeah. Now, in the original anime, it did not have any of that card text other than 1 line: skip your opponent's turn, go straight into your next battle phase. That was all it did.
I mean, why wouldn't you run that in every card, in every deck?
Yeah.
Like, if it just said that, it's a 3-of.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Instantly.
Every deck.
Yeah.
Why would you not run this card?
Yeah. So, moving on to our second to last card, we got Delinquent Duo.
Oh boy, this should be fun. Look, it's us. I'm kidding. Pay 1,000 life points. Your opponent discards one random card, and if they have any other cards in hand, discard one more card of their choice. The first one is random, the next one is...
Their choice.
Their choice. And this is a thing, you do this once.
Yes. But if you have 3 in hand, you could activate all 3.
Right, well, I mean, once per use of this card.
Yeah.
You said all 3 in hand. You said all 3 in hand.
Sure. But I was being
at the time when it was legal.
So, what do you think?
I don't see any reason why every deck wouldn't run something like this. I mean, it's at the very least take care of 2 cards. Mm-hmm. Like, essentially, it reads destroy 2 cards in your opponent's hand.
Well, it doesn't say destroy, thank God.
Well, no, it doesn't. But I mean, essentially, like that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I would like to say it's banned, which means it's probably only a 1 of, which means it's probably a 3 of. But I'll say it's a 1 of. Mm-hmm.
It's a band.
Okay, thank God. It makes sense again.
Yeah, that card got banned on one of the early ban lists. Not the first, but it did get limited on the first ban list, if my memory's correct. Yeah. And then it got banned shortly after that.
I figured because if Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't like drawing cards, they don't like they like discarding cards even less. Magic has an entire deck that is built around making your opponent discard cards. There's a deck called 8 Rack that's all about making your opponent discard cards. Any deck in modern format that runs black. Turn 1 Thought seizes you, which is you look at you pay a black mana and 2 life. You look at your opponent's hand, pick a card, and they discard it.
There's an archetype actually there's not 2 archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh, 3 actually that heavily rely on discarding. The first of which that was released was Dark World. They like being discarded by card effects, and they all get effects based off of when they're discarded and stuff. And they get an additional effect if they were discarded off an opponent's card effect. And then after that was Fables, which just use card effect, just use discarding for cost to do stuff. Okay. And then most recently is the Danger archetype, that archetype of cryptids I was telling you about earlier. Yeah, and actually Danger and Dark World go stupid well together. It's not fun at all to duel against. Now then for the final card, and I'm going to hold this one for you because I love this card so much. I'm going to hold it.
Why then I can't read the bottom of it?
I'm giving you trouble because there's a line of text at the bottom that kind of spoils something about it.
Okay,
so
well then I'll
a legendary dragon of white.
Okay, I'll cover the bottom portion of the text.
Bottom left.
It's what, this here?
Yes.
Okay. Must be Xyz summoned and cannot be special summoned by either way. Since the card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life points to 0 while it has an Xyz material attached. I know this card. You've yelled at me about this card before. You've told me about how ridiculous this is because the last 4 words are you win the match.
I couldn't remember if I've told you about those.
You told me this card before.
Yeah, match winners. Something I don't know if Magic has, but Yu-Gi-Oh
does not have match winners. Magic does.
Yu-Gi-Oh has something Magic doesn't.
Magic does have 1.5 billion alternate win conditions, and you're going to be seeing some of those in part 2 because, boy, oh boy, they get fun. Yeah. Oh, they get fun.
But we have match winners.
Yeah, we don't have.
So match winners, they're pretty much exclusively prize cards.
I want to say this is like.
Read the bottom left text.
No, you win the match, I know.
Bottom left text on the card.
This card cannot be used in a duel. That's
there you go.
See, I didn't read that part. That was the part I missed.
Yeah, so...
I wasn't covering that. I thought I was covering the bottom line of
So,
the thing.
Here's the funny thing. Pretty much all the match winners are actually terrible. They're garbage. If you were to actually try to use them and try to get their effect off, it's laughable. Every single match winner.
Though, if you do, you earned it. Like you deserve to win.
Because you got to hit your opponent directly, drop them to 0 with that, and then you win the match. And the original match winner actually was legal to be used in duels. He was given out as a prize card, and I actually have him too. He's called Victory Dragon. He needs 3 dragons to be summoned. You need to tribute them. He's like the god cards. You need 3 tributes to summon him. And that's a consistent theme with the match winners is they all need 3 monsters to be summoned. And Victory Dragon has 2300 attack. When he pokes your opponent for damage for game, you win the match. What ended up causing them to be banned and why Victory Dragon in particular, and then all future match winners to be labeled as not being able to use in a duel, is because of unsportsmanship-like behavior. What a lot of people found was
they would snap concede.
Yeah. You summoned Victory Dragon, and I know I'm going to lose the match. Oh, I quit. I surrender. Let's go to game 2.
Concede the game.
And that would cause a lot of hassles, and it caused a lot of ruling disputes, a lot of issues. And so Konami decided, you know what, even though this match winner and our future match winners are not particularly good, and they're super hard to summon, and inconsistent, and I could go on for ages, let's just ban it and make all future ones not playable.
Errata. If your opponent would concede while this card is on the battlefield, you win the match. There you go. Problem solved. You have to be sportsmanlike. Accept your fate or perish.
Funnily enough, this was only an issue here in America and Europe and stuff.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
In Japan, there's you cannot surrender. You cannot surrender unless there's an exorbitant reason. The match winner being summoned and attacking you directly was not considered an exorbitant reason, so you could not surrender, and therefore you had to be sportsmanlike. Here in America, though, there's no such thing.
Concessions are allowed, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
great.
Part one. I'm sure this is probably like an hour-long video, but we had fun. Yeah, we had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this too. We're gonna do
You're
part...
all gonna hate learning about Magic cards. I've got some stuff that you're just gonna hate seeing. And I'm so excited.
And since this is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Dedicated channel, I'm gonna let him have a few minutes to kind of explain the intricacies of Magic. So.
And how it's different and why that matters in judging creature strength.
So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys look forward to maybe doing more. I know there's plenty more crazy Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that I could not cram into this. Like, I had to take out half a stack just to make sure this was over in a timely manner. So who knows, maybe if you guys like this, we'll do another one. So
maybe I'll just focus on alternate win conditions this time. Then we'll do another one. I'll get some stranger ones.
The thing is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has like 10 other alternate win conditions. And
I've already found 15 and I'm still looking.
So
I've scrolled past 20.
Yeah, and then Chaotic has one alternate win condition.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, you beat me with it.
I beat you with it. Without using alternate win condition. I beat you with that deck without using the alternate win condition.
I hate you for that.
Yeah, it was great.
So guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out. Joe, any final things?
Be good to each other.
Okay.
That's about it.
Good enough. See y'all later.